Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be sharing and reacting to your Bookish Icks. Alright guys, so I am so excited for this video. I've been seeing over on TikTok that people have been doing like Bookish Icks, talking about things they don't like in books. So I decided to ask over on my Instagram, what was all of your Bookish Icks? You guys did not disappoint. I got so many responses and I have been cracking up reading them. Like some of them I completely relate to, and then other ones I was like, I don't know where you're going with this. But anyway, I'm so excited to talk about these Bookish Icks and react to them. I will say, some of them are like super spicy and I do still want to react to them. So I'm going to save all of like the more romance heavy spicy ones for like the end of this video, and I'll leave a timestamp when I'm about to get to those. But overall, I cannot wait. I also just got finished filming a wrap up, so this is definitely going to be like a low key, just chatty kind of video. But anyway, if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram and Goodreads, both linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about your Bookish Icks. All right, so I have all the responses on my computer. I didn't look like too much into the responses because I wanted my reactions to be pretty genuine, but some of these are really funny. So a lot of you said miscommunication, third act breakup. Someone said when they won't just talk to each other when a complication happens. And another person was saying how if someone's immature and they can't communicate effectively. So completely agree. I hate miscommunication and I feel like it is used for the third act breakup so often, and it's so frustrating because yeah, just talk, just communicate. I feel like 90% of the time it's like such a simple issue that the people just aren't talking to each other and they're just making these assumptions without actually being like, hey, is this happening? Or things to that nature. And I also feel like it happens a lot in rom-coms, which I've actually kind of like leaned away from. I feel like I don't read as much like traditionally published romances because I feel like they use it so often and it's so frustrating. So yeah, I hate miscommunication. I also hate the third act breakup. Completely agree with all of you. All right, so this next one I actually didn't think about, but it is 100% a book ick of mine as well. Luckily, I feel like most of the books I read don't feature this, but catty girl fights, other girl drama, catty girls in books, and like girls putting down girls. So a lot of people said something like of that nature and completely agree. I am not a fan of like the whole girl against girl drama that happens in books, especially when it's over a guy. So definitely agree with you there. I don't love other girl drama. It's never fun. And next, an overwhelming amount of you said pregnancy. So we had pregnancy, period. We had pregnancy, surprise pregnancy, pregnancy where the girl does not tell the boy for years. I hate that. That is one of my like top book icks. I'm so happy someone else said that. Yeah, and just a lot of like surprise pregnancy. So I'm gonna take this a little step further. So pregnancy really doesn't bother me if it happens in the book. I do hate when the hero like misses out on a huge chunk of a child's life because the mom doesn't tell the dad for some sort of like miscommunication issue. It's not the same as if like they end up having a one-night stand, the dad goes and has no idea the child exists and the mom has no way of contacting him. That I'm okay with because like the mom couldn't contact the father. But like when the woman decides like he doesn't need to be in the life because of some sort of miscommunication, that drives me bonkers. The other one that no one said, but I really feel this, is epilogues are really unnecessary 90% of the time in romances. So here's the thing. I'm fine with epilogues if you want to read about like the happy couple, but I feel like every single romance is the same thing. It's them finding out they are pregnant, or them 2 years later with a baby, or them like taking care of their kids. I don't need to see it. I am happy with you guys ending up like having a marriage, and then like I can imagine in my head what happens to you after that. Do not need the epilogue. So a lot of epilogues I just feel like are completely unnecessary. The ones really that are like surrounding pregnancy. I feel like you don't need to have a child to have a happy ever after. And a lot of romance authors like do that. And I don't like it. Sorry, that felt really negative, but it's just something that really does drive me crazy in romance books. All right, so this next one is gonna be an unpopular opinion because I agree with what this person says, and it's definitely not the norm. So second chance romances, next my friend, move forward. So this person doesn't like second chance romances. I am not a huge fan of second chance romances myself. I kind of agree with what they said. I feel like you have tried, it didn't work out, so let's move forward, let's find someone else to date, and find that perfect person. And there are second chance romances that I think are really well done and amazing. Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan is one of my absolute favorite second chance romances. But for the most part, those are not my favorite. Same thing with like friends to lovers. I much prefer like enemies to lovers or like things of that nature. I just like really like angsty, slow burn type romances. And I feel like friends to lovers and second chance are normally like more cute. But yeah, not my favorite, and I totally agree with this person. When sentences or phrases are repeated 3 times for emphasis, completely agree with you, 100%. I feel like Stephenie Meyer does this like ad nauseum. Like she always ends up like repeating herself in the Twilight books. From what I remember, I haven't reread that series in a very long time. I also noticed it in the Shatter Me series, but I think it's very much done intentionally in the Shatter Me series. The issue is, I was listening to the Shatter Me series via audio, so every time Juliet writes something, they say it in the audio format, like with her pen writing. So like, I Am Not Crazy, I think she repeats about 15 times in that first book, and the entire time I'm driving, it just says, I am not crazy, I am not crazy, I am not crazy, over and over, and I was like, why is this happening? So yeah, I don't love when things are repeated, when you can just say it one time and like, you understand. So I agree with this person. All right, so this next one is enemies to lovers when they're not real enemies. So I completely agree with this, but I feel like authors have to put certain tropes like on their books. Like if someone's like, what is this book about? You're gonna say it's Grumpy Sunshine or it's Slow Burn or whatever. So I feel like enemies to lovers is just put on books that it's not necessarily enemies to lovers. Like I feel like a lot of traditionally published rom-com books once again, or like workplace romances where they say they're enemies to lovers, they're not. They just don't get along with each other, but they're not like enemies. I feel like you see real enemies to lovers in fantasy romance, mostly fantasy romance, mafia romance, like the Brutal Birthright series, that first book. Those are real enemies. And like the Kingmaker series, a lot of mafia and fantasy has like real enemies to lovers, but when you're talking about contemporary romance, I just feel like it's never actual enemies. So yeah, I completely agree. Okay, this next one's a good one, the I'm not like other girls trope. So you see this, I feel like the most in YA fantasy. There's so many of the main characters are girls that like society looks down on because normally they're brunette and they're good at fighting or hunting or something like that. And they're not like other girls. They don't want to be the queen. They don't want to be in high society. So totally see you. It doesn't bother me all the time. Like there are a lot of books that I really love where the main character isn't like other girls. I just feel like it's so common at this point. But yeah, I mean, that can be frustrating, but also I don't absolutely hate it. I just know that's kind of like the norm at this point. All right, this next one's actually really funny. So when he is too nice and cute, I'm a grump, I can't deal with that. So I completely agree. I read a lot of dark romance. So I prefer like serial killer, who hurt you, I'll kill them, like that whole vibe, brooding and like touch her and you die, all of that. So normally I also like the darker type of love interest. However, Ollie Masters from the Stay With Me series completely changed that for me. He is the biggest cinnamon roll. He is the sweetest boy on the planet and I love him and he's one of my top book boyfriends. So there are cinnamon roll boys out there that I really enjoy. So they can be nice and cute and not like super dark and angsty and brooding. But the majority, I do agree with you. I do prefer like the darker type of love interest. And the same person said the use of words like oxygen in a medieval setting, like check your scientific history. So I completely agree with this. And it made me think of a author I read recently. So Jennifer L. Armentrout, absolutely love her. I love the From Blood and Ash series. I love the prequel series. I love everything I've read by her. However, I was reading A Shadow in the Ember. And for those of you who don't know, this is like a fantasy book and it's actually a prequel to the From Blood and Ash series. And it feels like it's a very medieval setting. And our main character, Serafina, says something like, that lives rent-free in my head, and when I read that, it completely took me out of the story. I don't like when modern day phrases are used in like olden times or like stories where they don't make sense in. So things like that drive me absolutely crazy. So I totally agree and I see where you're coming from. Yeah, so one of my biggest icks, I hate when people use like modern day slang in fantasy and like medieval type books. So this person said love triangles, and they also said false/secret identity. So love triangles, when they are done correctly, where you do not know who the main character is gonna choose, and they both work really well with the main character, those, I eat those up. I love those. There's only a few that I've read where I am just as torn as the main character on like who she is gonna pick. So those I absolutely love. I feel like a lot of love triangles, it's very obvious who the author intends for the main character to fall in love with. So those I don't love. False and secret identity doesn't really bug me. I will say false and secret identity, that kind of goes in line with amnesia romance, and I hate amnesia romances with a burning passion, and I didn't even realize I hated them until I was getting books together for the popular books I hate video. I'll leave it in the cards and the description. And a few of them were amnesia romance. And then I realized I have never read an amnesia romance that I enjoyed. An overwhelming amount of you said InstaLove. So I completely agree. The only time I'm somewhat okay with InstaLove is if it is a fated mates sort of situation where they're gonna end up being together. So like that I'm fine with because of the instant connection. But for the most part, I am not a fan of InstaLove. Like, I wanna see some pining, I wanna see longing, I want these two to get together. I just read A Heart of Blood and Ashes, and I love having a book that like, I am just up all night just waiting for them to realize that they love each other and to fall in love. So yeah, InstaLove is definitely not my favorite. And this person said pet names like Sweetness. If you are watching this video and you are the person that sent in this comment, do not read the Broken Bond series because there is one character that I don't think he ever refers to the main character as anything other than Sweetness, which I'm thinking that's where you got this from. I haven't read any other books that had Sweetness as a pet name. It doesn't bother me, that specific one. There are ones that do drive me insane. Love I actually like. Babe drives me crazy. I hate when they say babe. Yeah, there's certain ones that I really dislike. Is it Babe? I think it's Babe that's in Lessons of Corruption that the main guy says to the love interest, and that's like all he calls her. That got on my nerves. So it depends. It depends on the pet name. If there's like a cute backstory to the pet name, I tend to like it a little bit more. But yeah, I can totally get that. There are a lot of pet names that I absolutely hate. And this one makes me sad. A lot of people said why choose romance and reverse harem. So one person said when the main character has multiple love interests. Another one just said reverse harem. Another person said why choose romance because there's no epic love story. I disagree. I actually really enjoy why choose romance. I didn't think I would. I was super hesitant to start. And when I did finally try reverse harem, the first one I tried was Den of Vipers. Don't do what I did. That is not the way to start. St. View Prison Series, an amazing reverse harem why choose romance. I really enjoyed it. Lilac is pretty good. The Bonds That Tie is one of my absolute favorites. So there's a lot of really good reverse harem why choose romances out there where you feel like there are like a strong bond between the entire unit. It's not just like, I feel like there still is an epic love story. They just all love each other and it's great. So yeah, I really enjoy reverse harem. All right, so the rest of these are much more spicy. They're much more like romance heavy. So just know that going in. So this first one says, when the main character is a virgin and orgasms her first time. I am so happy one of you sent this because this has driven me crazy. Did I say that right? Drove me crazy? Since I first started reading romance. Every time there is a virgin hero, she ends up orgasming like 2 or 3 times her first time. And I feel like that doesn't happen unless I am missing something. So yeah, don't love that. And that is like a very common thing I see in romance that feature a virgin hero. All right, so this next one, I've been trying to figure out a way to verbalize it without getting demonetized or anything negative. So I'm just gonna say that a certain bodily fluid is described as either being delicious and or as sweet nectar. And yeah, neither of those, I don't like either of them. All right, next up is daddy kink. So we have daddy kink and or stepdad love stories. I have a stepdad, I just can't. Then we have daddy kink, just ew, and then daddy kink, why in all caps. So I felt similarly. I used to absolutely hate daddy kink. I didn't understand why people would enjoy reading this. I was so grossed out by it. Then I read Little Dove by Layla Frost, and my entire world changed. So I actually like it now. There are a few books that are still like super cringy. So hey, if you don't like it, definitely don't read it. It's not for everybody, and that I'm positive of. But there are some that are pretty good, and I highly recommend Little Dove by Layla Frost. And similarly, step-sibling or step-parent romances, especially when they grew up together, I completely agree. I typically dislike step-sibling relationships, and step-parent, I don't think I've actually read very many. I think I've only read one step-parent relationship. I thought it was okay. But step-sibling relationship, if they grow up together, I normally don't end up enjoying it just because it feels, I don't know, it feels like it's too intimate. Like even if they're not biologically related, they grew up together, they had the same experience, they like had the same childhood. So yeah, I totally agree with you. The only book that is a step-sibling relationship that does feature people that grew up together is June 1st by Jennifer Hartmann, and it's one of my absolute favorite Jennifer Hartmann books. It might be my favorite Jennifer Hartmann book, and that is 100% siblings or step-siblings that grew up together. But for some reason, that romance just completely worked for me. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Those were all of your bookish icks. Now, if there is a bookish ick that you have, and I didn't mention it in this video, please let me know down in the comments below. And I said this already, I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye!